What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Today I want to talk to you about a prose novel, The Patchwork Girl of Oz, written by Lyman Frank Baum. This is the 7th Oz book. I have not read any of the other Oz books. I got this at a used book sale, and I decided to just jump into it without waiting for the rest of my life to find the other Oz books that came before this. And I will say it is very easy to get into this book. It's very new reader friendly. This is a children's book, so obviously Baum was not going to make the continuity very difficult to get into. You do see a couple of characters from the previous Oz books, like Jack Pumpkinhead, the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodsman, Dorothy. All of them show up here in various cameos, but it introduces them. It doesn't expect you to have read the other books to enjoy this one. And so I like that quite a bit, because otherwise I probably would have just put this book down and I would not have finished reading it. But there are some problems that I have with this book, and I feel like if this was not an Oz book, and if it was not written by L. Frank Baum, other people would have called out these problems of this book. So the basic premise here is there's a Munchkin boy, his uncle, and this Munchkin wizard's wife are turned into marble statues while the wizard is trying to create a patchwork girl and give her life so that she can be a slave, which is ethically very wrong. And then they have to go on an adventure to find all these items so that they can turn the marble people back into real people. And so the glass cat, the patchwork girl, and Ojo, they go on a quest to find all of these rare items so that the wizard can turn them back into living, breathing people. And some of these items are easy to get, some of them are very difficult to get. And the problem I have with this book, the big problem, is the pacing. About 2/3 of the way through the book, we have our emotional climax, and then the book goes on for another 100 pages where it doesn't even matter because they're not able to get all the items, and then Glinda, the Good Witch from the first Wizard of Oz book, she comes in and she just turns them back into living, breathing people. So their entire quest, the entire 347 pages of this book, was completely pointless because Glinda just turns them back into living, breathing people. And it's very frustrating. I feel like he could have just cut the last 100 pages of this book anyway. He could have rearranged the plot a little bit and had Ojo and friends find all of the items before getting the six-leafed clover, which Ozma, Princess of Oz, says it's illegal to pick six-leafed clovers, and she gives an explanation of why. It's a really bogus explanation. So when Ojo secretly picks a six-leaf clover, she finds out about it, and then she has to put him on trial. That's the emotional climax of the book, and then it keeps going, and it's incredibly frustrating. Now, the last 100 pages is still entertaining, but it feels like it's part of another story that Baum just tacked onto this one after this book emotionally and organically ends. It really does not feel like it needs to go on for as long as it does, and it's very frustrating whenever the quest that they've been going on through this entire book is pointless because they're not able to get all the items, and then Glinda comes in and says, okay, I'll just fix all your problems anyway. Why didn't they just go to the Emerald City, appeal to Ozma, and say, hey, you're friends with Glinda, can she turn my uncle and this wizard's wife back into a living, breathing people? And then she'd be like, yeah, sure, okay. There's also some points in this book that I feel like Baum had an idea for a story segment and then he abandoned it. At one point, the Glass Cat and Ojo, they sleep in a house where they don't see anyone, but they're hearing this voice say, okay, you can come in, but you have to go right to bed. And then they leave the house, and the Patchwork Girl, she was staying outside the house, and she says, this wolf came and knocked on the door 3 times during the night. And then Ojo says, even though I ate well and I slept well, I'm tired and I'm hungry right now. And that goes nowhere. It's kind of the problem of Chekhov's gun, where you introduce a gun and then you don't fire it later in the book. Why did you even have this section where they sleep in a house and there's no one there, but they're hearing a voice, and there's a wolf, but he never shows up again? Why even do all of that? Are you setting up something for a later Oz book? I'm assuming not. I feel like the rest of this book is pretty good about having these little standalone adventures as part of a larger narrative. For example, there's an almost war between these one-legged people and these people with horns. That's part of their quest to get the Dark Water, but it's a standalone adventure by itself. And I'm wondering if Baum was going to do something like that, and then he just changed his mind and decided to have them go on their way. It's really weird. It comes out of nowhere, and then just as soon as it happens, it's gone. So this book is fine. If you're a child, then you might enjoy this a lot more than I did. I feel like just because it's children's literature does not mean that I should throw away my critical thinking. I still think that there are some major problems with this book. If I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have noticed those problems, but the problems are still there. there. So I think it's an okay story, but I think if you want your child to read something that's a little less problematic, it wouldn't be hard to find something that is going to have less narrative problems that this book had. So those are my thoughts on The Patchwork Girl of Oz. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back later in the week with another video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.